Welcome, 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 people. Welcome to Disarranged, your live source for entertainment, news, and of course, we specialize in a support network. Glad you can be with us tonight for episode 7. We changed things up, obviously. I'm here by myself, but we will be joined shortly by my co host, Mr. Andrew Turner, and our special guest. What we're going to do tonight is a little change of pace. We're going to do it. 2021 year in review cap of hot topics, trending topics. We went through probably about 25 of them, picked 5 real solid ones that we thought were good conversation pieces. Not only that, meant something to us and that you, our audience, would be able to invest in as well. So when me and Andrew started this, it was important to us that we didn't want to be a hot take podcast. We didn't want to really dive into politics and stuff like that. We wanted to go into stuff more with substance and let people get to know us without getting into that stuff. We decided that it was time to start talking about some of that stuff, that it was time to get interactive about some of these issues with you, our audience, and open it up. We definitely want you to be interactive in this episode. If you have any comments or questions, we want to hear them. We're going to have multiple topics we're going to be speaking on. We only ask that everybody in here shows everybody respect. So that's our big thing. It's a judgment-free zone. You guys can have any views you'd like to have. You can have any opinions you'd like to have. We just ask that you treat everybody with respect, no matter what their view is. And don't be afraid if you have a different view than myself or Andrew or even our guests. Don't be afraid to speak your mind. We want to hear it. We want you to be interactive. So now we're going to go. We're going to be joined by Andrew and our special guest, David Bobbitt, who are in location Studio B in Baltimore. So join me in welcoming my co-hosts, Mr. Andrew Turner and David Bobbitt.
What's going on, brother?
What's up, brother?
How are you, man?
I'm good. I got to kick the show off, so I'm happy,
dude,
man.
We got to watch. It was fantastic.
Dude, I think I might be out of a job. That was a hell of a job, dude. I commend you on that. That was good. And yeah, I don't even think I have to add. You hit every point. When we started this, we wanted to stay away from the hot topics, but 2021 was a hell of a year. So we decided, you know what, it's time to kind of get a little bit more personal with our guests and our audience and let you a little bit more insight. And that's never thought, I guess the first person I thought of for sure, if we were going to do a live interview and try this out for the first time, was none other than Mr. David Bobbitt. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Absolutely.
Coming, Dave.
Yeah, appreciate you, Matt. Just for all your guests listening at home, I want to go over, I guess, some of the credentials and background as to why you guys thought that I should come on such a sophisticated show and discuss these topics. And I got to tell you, I've been impressed with the previous shows and the guests. So I figured, I really want to let everybody know why my opinion matters so much. And I guess it's because I'm an opinionated asshole. And Andrew decided that it would be fun because he knows I'm outspoken. And that while I respect others and their opinions, I do have my own, and I'm happy to share when asked. So if I inadvertently offend any of your viewers, let me apologize ahead of time, but I'm just going to let it rip from the heart, and I hope you all can appreciate that.
Yeah, that's absolutely. So how Dave and I met? Have I told you this story about how we met?
I think briefly, and you didn't really dive into it, but maybe briefly. Yeah.
All right. So it was like 2016. Yeah, it was around 2016. I got into the insurance industry. I'll give them a little shout out. Shout out GBS. And I was on the sales team. Dave was an account administrator upstairs, and they were trying to get him on the sales team. We went out to a couple happy hours. Didn't really know much about him. And then all of a sudden he's on the sales team. Long story short, we started kicking it after work. We decided, wow, like we're into the same type of things. And it's just like it's my number one buddy here in Baltimore. So
there it is.
Yeah, I'm excited because listen, we've been on the trails many, many times together. We do a lot of outdoor hiking. We try to pick 50-mile stretches and crush them in 2 days. Well, in our heads and in our hearts, we think we can do it in 12 hours. But,
I know that.
A lot of injuries.
Kindred savages.
Right. So, but anyways, I'm excited to get into this. I'm very excited to have some really good conversation, and
so
I'm excited to be able to see some of the comments too coming in. I think you got the comments on your end, Matt.
I do. Yeah. And
Cool.
welcome everybody that's in. We appreciate it. We love you guys. And I think
anybody who can send in a topic or a comment that I don't have a response or opinion about, kudos to you. I mean,
maybe you'll be the next guest.
There's your challenge. Definitely speak your mind. I mean, that's what this is about. We want to know how you feel about the year.
Yeah. So before we dive in, Turner, do you want to give a shout out to our sponsors, especially since Dave's here 100%. In the house? Let him.
Yeah. So good call, man. So right now, also is our out of the two sponsors we do have, number one sponsor is Mr. Dave Bobbitt and his friend. Dave's more of the back guy. Helps with marketing efforts and just kind of keeping the business
Dave's not
alive.
The licensed plumber that Dan Gedicke, his partner, is, and since it's a plumbing and heating company, it's imperative that we have a licensed master plumber.
Right.
So he's the one with all the credentialing, again, the asshole with opinions, and gets things done behind the scenes to help grow the business, which is, for me right now, a side venture. I'm not putting 100% of my time into it. So thanks to Dan for his support.
And what's the name of the business?
Neptune's Plumbing and Heating. And don't ask me for the number off the top of my head.
So we'll have all of their information in our descriptions. After the show, you'll have all access to get a hold of the team if you're a local here in the Baltimore area.
Full service plumber. And specializes in residential boilers. So anybody who knows anybody's got a residential boiler need, that can be tricky. And Dan is the man.
Yeah,
it even rhymes. So.
Especially now, it's getting cold. Things are happening. So definitely give their team a shout. And our next sponsor, if you could pop them up there, we've got Sunnymaid Cleaners. Go give my girl Gabby a call. 443-939-4578. There's no project too big or too small. They do residential and commercial cleaning. Make sure you give them a call. They do really, really good work. I've seen it, and they've done some of our office buildings. So thank you very much, Gabby, and everybody over at Sunnymaid Cleaners. Happy New Year, and we look forward to growing with you guys this year. And again, all their information will be in the descriptions, and you can get a hold of them. Go online and book. You ready to do this?
Let's do it. So what we're going to do is just call out the topics. We'll each get our chance to speak on it, obviously, and then allow interaction. I just want to preface again, if you have a different opinion or you have something to say that differs from us, don't be afraid to speak your mind. Just do it. Just treat everybody with respect, as we will. So we'll get right into it. Our first trending hot topic, and this is ongoing, is the never-ending pandemic. The never-ending pandemic that officially started in February, March 2020, and here we are in almost February of 2022, and we have a new strand of COVID, and we're getting this shit's still spreading like freaking herpes.
You want me to go first?
No. I mean, I guess that's why you had me on.
Yeah.
So it's the
Oh, either way, yeah.
It's the never ending story. You know, like, if you guys remember that movie or not with the Treyu and you know, I guess we're in the swamp of despair right now. You know, as nothing fucking creeps. Excuse me. You know, I know the FTC isn't listening, but I'm going to try to keep it clean as nothing creeps on us. But no, here's the reality. It's a virus, right? So it's a living thing, and its job is to mutate and to you know, kill what it's living in. So it's not going to stop now that it's out of the box, right? And you can have all kinds of conversations as to whether or not it was man-made and engineered in Wuhan by man and released, you know, whether it was released with malicious intent or whether or not it just got out and there's a lack of responsibility on foreign governments that didn't warn people or take action as soon as they could have. But the truth is that it's here to stay, right? I think our best bet is that eventually, you know, and I know that eventually it's just kind of like the flu, right? The flu is a virus, mutates every year. It's going to happen.
So how do we, so here's the thing that I'd have to, like, what I can't understand is when do we go back to it being a little bit normal of a society and treating it more like the flu?
Yeah, that's a tough question.
Where are we removing the masks? When are we, you know, what's that? Go ahead, Matt.
Well, so the problem with that is when they started the vaccination process, right? We were told that was the road to back to normal, right? But the problem is, obviously, it's the country split again 50-50, where you have half people are vaccinated, half people don't want to get vaccinated. And without that, you have the mutation of the virus and all this stuff. So in my opinion, there's never going to be a normal, primarily because people lived in their own house, in their own world for what was it, like 8 months, and they learned how to do things in a different way. So they were forced to do things in a different way, right? There's like really the only I mean, I don't know like any other times in world history where that's happened. You know, people.
Well, it's interesting you suggest world history, and I'm sorry, I did not to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
I guess the reality is that it's how we look at things now, right? What our perception is, what our expectation is, and I think that's changed vastly in a very short amount of time.
Yes.
You consider the last pandemic, which was the Spanish influenza, 1917, 1918. You got to remember, before the flu shot, the flu killed a lot more people annually than it does now.
Yeah.
Worldwide. Oh, yeah. Death itself was a much more common occurrence. You know, right. Child loss, much more common occurrence. And so people nowadays, you know, I tease Andrew all the time because being a millennial and you know, the fact that there's a softness, you know, I'm sorry, you know, but there's a softening of society that's been taking place. You know, I can kind of pinpoint it in my own mind. I look back and I say, I was probably, you know, I should have been diagnosed with attention deficit disorder, right? Sure. But I missed that boat. I was just a couple years ahead of that. And then it was just like, oh, no, wait a minute. What is attention deficit disorder really? Is it just a boy being a boy? Because why do you need to drug boys to make them more like little girls in class? And this started a whole change in America. It also kind of relates to, you know, whole ease of taking pills when that we're getting off on tangents. And I'll try to stick to the point. But I guess the reality is that people look at this pandemic where people were actually dying, and that's been the first time that's happened in a while. And that's, I think, what really struck a chord.
What people dying, or that you saw it, like generally saw it, like
that you saw it, right? Because a lot of people experienced it personally. Let's face it, mainstream media played it up as well, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we
are
can get
quarantined. You
into
can see
why
the
they
body
did
weight.
that, because there's a whole monetization behind the thing. If you want my opinion on that, I give it to you. So yeah.
Yeah. So, Andrew, you got something?
No, I think the monetization of everything and the higher powers to be that are in control had a lot of influence, especially on the mainstream media. And I think that, my personal opinion, I think that the numbers were vastly what's the word I'm looking for? Increased, vastly
Well, they're deceptive.
inflated.
They're deceptive. At the very least, they're deceptive, right? So, for in my opinion, to say deaths because of COVID is very deceptive, because then you're saying that these
Like,
people,
who's vetting these tests?
Okay, well let's call it what it is. If you were in a motorcycle accident and they tested your corpse and it was COVID positive,
that's what I'm saying.
it was marked as a COVID death. Okay.
Yes, that's
that aside, I see a comment from Mr. Rodriguez, and I can't say that you're wrong, right? But what you bring up a great point, in that this whole thing has become politicized.
Yes.
Nobody's thinking for themselves. It's just, it's pick a side. Do you watch CNN or do you watch Fox?
Right.
And then people nowadays are just happy to eat whatever that they're spoon fed, right? And the reality of the situation is at the very minimum, if you're not going to read about topics and you're not going to think for yourself, you should at least watch both sides, both of those channels, and then try to figure out where the truth is, because it's probably somewhere in the middle there, right? And that's another societal issue. It's this dependence on the news channels or the and let's face it, we have news. We don't have journalists anymore, right?
No, and that's
we have reporters with agendas, and they report on their feelings, and they find ways to distort. There's can I bring up another podcast on a podcast?
Yeah, absolutely.
I found it fascinating. Rogan was accused of, taking ivermectin as a horse and cow tranquilizer.
Yes.
And
he's not.
When you look at CNN, the way they rolled it out, it was just like they went after the guy. And he actually had, I think he talked to Sanjay Gupta and all that kind of stuff. But the truth of the matter is, whether you like Joe Rogan, don't like Joe Rogan, whether you watch CNN or watch Fox, right? Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, at the end of the day, here are the facts about ivermectin. It was created to cure river blindness, I believe. And because it is so effective at killing viruses, it is also used in veterinary settings. The issue is, back to that monetization thing, is ivermectin is realized by the World Health Organization as an essential drug. It's on the list. And therefore, it's in supply all over the place and in generic form. Now, the problem with the generic drug, if you're a Pfizer, if you're a Moderna, if you're a Johnson & Johnson, is you can't make money on a generic drug. So, I don't know. The reality is I don't think that we're told the truth.
No,
and I don't think that we've ever been told the truth.
Never.
But honestly, in today's society, we almost have a responsibility to find the truth on our own, because we do have more access to more information than we've ever had. We have to understand that some of the information may be skewed one way or the other, right? But come on, man.
Well, I think it's really hard. So somebody that's on the cuff of, like, I know you bust my balls about me being a millennial. So someone being on the cuff of, like, that millennial, not millennial, and like the technology boom and access to information as a young child, was we saw that transition, right? That was our generation. I have
watched Barney.
I didn't watch Barney. So what I'm saying is, for me, like, what were we listening to before we got on here? 70s, right? 70s classical rock.
Let's face it, the 70s was an amazing
Exactly.
decade.
So I'm saying,
I come from the 70s.
Right. What I'm saying is, I think that I don't necessarily know all the time how to search for information. The Jeffersons.
All in the family.
Yeah, baby.
I don't know necessarily how to look for information. So it's hard for me to your point, to arm yourself and go out. Yes, now we have access to so much information. I don't know how to vet it.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not the best at that.
It also amazes me, like you have access to all this information. So what do you watch? Like clips of celebrities doing whatever.
Well, see, I'm a documentary guy. I'm a documentary journalist guy.
I think like what you said earlier, Turner, the truth always lies probably somewhere in between what you're hearing on both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably where most of the truth is. But like David said, you're never going to hear it. But I want to slide into, since we're on this topic, I want to slide into our number 2, which I think is a little bit more, it's going to be a little bit more opinionated. This is the vaccination battles. Okay. This is,
to vax or not to vax?
To vax, not to vax. Are we getting the correct information on it? And I want to touch on the military aspect of it too.
Okay.
I want to touch on,
listen, I'm happy to touch, because we have a Marine sitting right across from me who was hard for me to convince to get vaccinated.
Yep.
I want to start out by saying first and foremost that if you would ask me pre-COVID, would I sign up, rush out, be excited to get in line and have a vaccination that was rushed by the United States government shot into my body? I would have laughed at you. I'd have probably called you a couple of names, and we'd have gone about our business. But here's the truth, right? Then there's post-COVID. There's, like you mentioned, there's the cabin fever. There's 8 months inside and not doing anything that you're used to. And let's face it, the only constant is change. However, it's also the hardest thing for people to deal with, right? So for me, what it came down to was, I don't know if this vaccine is going to work or not going to work. And frankly, I don't really care. It seems that it's important to some people and society, as a whole. For my personal situation, my wife was attending to my mother-in-law, and it's just like, don't want her getting COVID. So it's like, we do what was necessary. Right. And I said, screw it. I'm getting vaccinated, because at the end of the day, whatever they've come up with isn't going to kill me. Whatever research they were showing is, hey, look, this thing's, reduces your chances of getting it. And then if you do get it, it reduces your chances of dying from it, which was a positive. At the same time, I'm thinking the whole time, can't I just take ivermectin? Because there's a state in India, the country of India, that has 230 million people in that state. Okay. Yeah. Everybody. Okay. COVID hit there. They didn't have the vaccine. They didn't have access right away. What they gave out was little care packets. Ivermectin's part of it. Yes, they had death toll. It wasn't nearly what it could have been, and the rates of those folks staying alive that had symptoms that got through it, right?
Yes.
So that's the thing, is it becomes like a choice. Rebecca, your body, your choice. We don't need the government. Absolutely, you don't need the government telling you what to do, and that's the problem. The government likes to tell you what to do.
Shout out my dudes.
They think that they know best, and that's the reality. It's like when you sit there and you tell a doctor, and he, hey, listen, this is where my pain is. Well, actually, I think because he's got some degree on the wall, and it's just like, listen,
right? He's trying to.
Nobody knows my body better than me, so you pay attention to what I'm telling you, right?
Right.
Because my body tells me this. So I agree with you. You don't need the government to do it. I'm telling you why. Personally, I went ahead and got. I've had 3 shots, right? And knock on wood, no side effects and no COVID.
Okay.
Do I look at other people that are like, you shouldn't get it? No. I think it's a personal opinion. The reason that I gave Turner shit, tying this into your military thing, is why not, right? Because here's the truth of it. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
But if you want to get through this pandemic, right, there's 2 ways of doing it. Herd immunity, or enough vaccines so like 70% of the population either way has either had it or 70% of this population is vaccinated, right? Basic science can tell you that regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, right?
Right.
So herd immunity, I mean, look, I am not, like I said, I think we're a very soft society. So if you want to, just let everybody get sick and let the chips fall as they may, you're not going to tell me, you're not going to find me like saying no. But at the end of the day, do I want to lose loved ones? Since it seemed that everybody's going with this vaccine way anyway, and that's the way they're pushing it, trying to get to the 70% vaccinated to reach that, efficacy point where things are safer.
Yeah.
Again, it was path of least resistance, and I think you have to pick and choose your battles. So for this one, I say get the vaccine. Now for Turner, I was like, why aren't you getting the vaccine? I mean, here's the truth of it. I appreciate him, you, anybody who's ever served. I it's the one regret of my life, right? And Turner and I have had many conversations about that. That I'm a sack of shit who has not served my country. The truth is that if I had stepped up to the plate like you guys did, I'd have been shot full of all kinds of shit.
Right. So I want to get into that.
Okay. And so the reality of the situation is you don't have a choice there. Your Uncle Sam's, he owns you. You're getting the shots because that's what he says is best for, whatever situation he's about to put you in. So why the hell do y'all do that? Like, why do you put your lives at risk in the first place to sign up for the military? You must think at least something of this country and the people that live here. You must have some sense of like wanting to protect, serve, like make, keep America free. So if you're willing to get all those shots going in, like again, to reach that safe level for us all, what's another shot when you get out?
So here's my thing, and I'll give you my my take on it. When the vaccination or when the vaccine came out, to me, number one, I have no idea why it was ever politicized. I've never seen anything like that in my whole fucking life. Like to politicize. I understand the fact that there's lack of knowledge. It was rushed and all that stuff. To me, the way I looked at it was, I get the flu vaccination, and my thing was, Dave, just like what you said, when I came into the Marine Corps, the first fucking day I was there, I got like 25 shots. And the hell if I was going to ask anybody what the hell they just stuck in my arm. We were taking that Meliquin out in Afghanistan that they used for COVID. You know what I mean?
And now that's coming back to having bad symptoms for mental disorders too.
Yeah. So I'm 100% agree. Like I understand the freedom of choice aspect. I have a hard time with service members, like you said, that sign a contract. So you're okay with Uncle Sam sending you to bumfucking Egypt, where you could, die at the hands of some guy you don't even know, but you're not going to get a vaccination. So you don't have any choice in the matter anyway. And anything you fucking do, you don't have any choice in the matter anyway, except for that vaccination, because you can get out, you can get discharged.
Yeah, no, listen. And again, this is a pure emotional thing and on how you feel about it. And at the end of the day, I think you got to respect everybody's decision.
Yeah, right? I respect it. 100%.
Here's the truth. Like, and Mr. Reed put up a comment here. He's like, because now I have a choice, right? I didn't have a choice when I signed up. Now I have a choice. And it's just like, I can listen. After basically Uncle Sam telling you where to go, what to do, like when you can pee and all that shit, I can totally understand being like, oh, really? Because you guys say so? Okay, no, I'm just not going to do it because I'm done with that. I have a choice not to listen to you now. So, I get that. And again, I respect anybody's decision. It's just at the end of the day, you got to decide what sort of society we want to live in. Do we want to ever get back to some level of normalcy or not? Because the truth of the matter is, you've got to get to that 70, 80 percentile, whether you do that through everybody getting sick. And I think Mr. Rodriguez had said, hey, look, I got sick and I got the antibodies. And the way I feel about it, again, not a doctor, but if you've got COVID, you're probably better off than I am with my 3 vaccinations, right? Because you had the real deal and your body's actually been like, oh, really? Is that what you are? Okay, and now I can build a defense to it. So when I see you again, you're done. Which is the amazing thing about the immune system, right?
Yeah.
But I was just rambling there, and I kind of lost.
I want to read this post here from Major Callahan, one of our favorite guests. It says, when it wasn't an option, I chose not, or when it was an option, I chose not to. Once it was mandatory, I was first in line. If you don't like it, get out. And that's I get my thing is I respect it, Dave. I respect people's choices. I'm not even talking about civilians. I'm talking about the military aspect of it. I find it very hypocritical that all this, then these they decide not to get it, but they'll take multiple vaccinations to get in the military, and then they get on TikTok and shit like that and bow up about they're trying to force me to do this shit. You just got forced to take like 500 fucking vaccinations to get in the military.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now, because it's like a popular topic and you can go on fucking TikTok and sit.
Well, it's also the culture too.
I was going to say that's a call, and social media. Everybody's got a platform now. I mean, listen,
it's a cancel
I'm on
culture.
Your show getting asked my opinion about topics of 20 because of social media, and God bless it. I mean, there's a lot of good that comes out of it, but at the same time, right?
There's a lot
of just nonsense.
Well, it's just bullshit.
Just nonsense. So, but no, I mean, yeah. Here's the other thing about was it Major Callahan?
Major Callahan.
Callahan. Thank you for your service, first of all. Secondly, he's look. Once it was mandatory, I was the first in line, right? Because this is a guy who says I may not agree with
instinct.
With it, what you're doing, or that I even need it, but I understand that this is being made mandatory for the greater good.
Yeah.
This is a guy who's bought into the fact that, look, we're a country of a lot of different folks with a lot of different opinions.
Well,
but at the end of the day, it's still the greatest country in the world. Absolutely. And there's got to be some sort of semblance of unity. And again, I think the reason that we didn't have as many people lining up to get the vaccine as we maybe should have is because of how politicized the whole thing became. And I mean, you look at the mask, right? I mean, there are fights. People got unruly, just flat out nasty with each other.
Yep.
For wearing masks, not wearing masks. And at the end of the day, man, it's just like, we have got bigger fish to fry. Yeah. The Chinese are building atolls in the South China Sea, right?
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. Anyway. Sorry.
So I'm gonna weigh in on this one. Since yeah, so I've talked to Dave about this too, and people in my close circle about the vaccine and where I stand with it. I understand coming home and having a level of obligation to continue my level of service and my commitment to this country and society. I think especially I learned that while being in and understanding a little bit more about what service is to our country.
Yeah.
One of the greatest things that I've learned in the military is how to be a team player, right? I've always been a part of a winning team ever since I was younger, whether it was a third place win or a first place victory. I've always been a part of a winning team.
Yeah.
Now, as I've come up and I get into professional life, everything's so very individual, right? That's where I struggled with the vaccine.
Okay.
I needed to be this individual to learn how to be this individual because I haven't been able to build that team out here, right? Whether it's in my personal life or whether it's in my professional life, you don't have that team of people, that support system around you that you train with every day. So when the vaccine came up, I don't watch TV. I don't have a TV other than the screen here I use for the internet.
Yeah.
I don't, there's too much noise on the outside, and I'm going to get to my point. There's so much noise for me on the outside. I was looking at who I am as a person, my health, what I'm doing to take care of myself. I felt in my head also, I was doing my part.
Yeah.
Staying healthy, running, eating, doing the things that for me and my chemical makeup work for who I am to keep me healthy, right?
Yeah.
Now, going in and taking something into my body after 10 years of being out of the military, and I've experienced so many ups and downs with emotions. I know anger is emotions, but anger turns into violence, and it turns into a whole other mess of things, right?
Welcome to my world.
And you understand
I
that.
do. I understand
And that's why you and I really, really, really connect. Back to Matt's point and being, I remember that day, Matt, when we got there. I think our heads weren't even shaved. I don't even think, dude. I think we were just stuck in a line, and they came down. You walked down a gauntlet, and they just had buckets of needles, and it was boom, boom, boom. And so here I am. It's what I've just hitting over 10 years out. And I'm just starting to learn some emotions. There's certain emotions that are just coming back to me that I'm just feeling for the first time that I probably since I can't remember. I'm very in tune with myself. And so my idea behind all of a sudden putting something else foreign in my body, it triggered me to all of a sudden saying, look all the shit that I've been through in the last 10 years.
Absolutely. Well, listen,
so,
do you mind if I cut in?
No, go ahead.
I want to address, again, Mr. Rodriguez is being active here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
Got the flu shot because he wasn't forced, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is a valid point, Matt, that he's making because
at
the end of the day, I don't think anybody likes being told what to do.
Absolutely.
And I think everybody, I don't know if everybody listening knows like the three types of people that there are in the world, right? Like when you break this down, there's wolves, there's sheep, and there's sheepdogs, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you guys have heard this analogy, but the sheep will have no problem being told what to do. In fact, for the sheeple, it's a lot easier. Like, oh shit, like this is okay, great, thanks for telling me, and I'm done.
Easy, yeah.
And they go on grazing, and God bless them in their happiness.
Yeah.
And you know what? They're very fortunate to live in such a fertile valley that we call the United States of America. Okay. That's that. The sheeple are done. There's the wolves, right? The bad folks, and like, dude, they buck authority all the time anyway, right? Yeah. I find that a lot of our service members, right? A lot of first responders. These are the sheep. These are the sheepdogs of our society. They have a mind, they could go one way or the other with this vaccination thing. But at the end of the day, like no dog likes being kicked and no dog likes being yelled at. And if you kick a dog and you force it into a behavior that it doesn't necessarily want to do, it's not gonna.
Yeah. Well, that's when it got down to the point of having, it was coming into work. We do a lot of work with the government in my profession. Yeah. So how that already works.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get it.
It was gonna come down. So again, back to my point about one of the greatest things that the Marine Corps taught me and the military in general, was to rely on that team.
Yeah.
I've always been a part of a team, but the Marine Corps really solidified, like, this is who you are and how you operate, and like this is how you thrive.
Right.
So when it came into work, and it was one of those things that I was like, all right, it's one shot. Like, I want to be a team player.
Yeah.
That's for me was when I was like, all right, like I'm going to go do it. I'm going to be the tip of the spear. I'm going to lead by example because I want to be successful. I want to set the rest of my team up. They've got families and people that rely on them, and I think with the answer of the military side of it, people getting kicked out and people and all that and already signed up and doing their thing, going back to being, you can train anybody if you give them your loyalty and trust.
Yeah.
You can. Right. And that's one of the biggest things out here. You have to spend time with these people. These people that are on TikTok, they don't understand, dude. They're emotional. It's really what it is, and they don't know how to process it. If someone would sit down and spend time with a veteran or an active duty, we're very trainable, right? we can get people and we can get things, we can get a movement behind us. Just give us a little bit of information. And that's what I needed for me to make my choice. And so I ultimately did. And I think it was a good choice, especially with my social circle. You know, it was getting to the point I couldn't even necessarily come out to see him because he was, you know, and I respect him and his opinion because he would be like, hey, man.
My wife would drive us out to the trailhead. I made him wear a mask in the backseat.
Yeah.
You know? And again, happy wife, happy life, folks. You know, anybody who's got a problem with that, sure. You're not married.
Yeah. You're not married.
You're not married or you're not married anymore.
So,
well,
yeah. So Tyler says, hey, all emotion, no logic. Again, yeah. Absolutely, because you know what, Tyler, you're not wrong. From a logical standpoint, my mind says, go F yourself, Uncle Sam. I don't need the drug that you're just basically going to take my tax dollars, run up our deficit for it to line the pockets of the executives at Pfizer or Moderna or Johnson & Johnson when I've got a perfectly good generic drug available to me that can beat this thing. So, yeah, no, listen, man, and you're – you know, the choice between emotion and logic. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not surprising that emotion wins out most of the time. You know, Andrew and I, you know, met in sales. I mean, we're in sales, right? It's an emotional thing.
Emotional, yeah.
Right? Yeah. You know, well, I got to buy this because if I don't, right? So there's fear, or, you know, oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread. So there's excitement, right? I mean, it's all emotional. And that's why at the end of the day, the better we do as a society at getting control of our emotion, the better off we are. But I warn you, we live in a society where a lot of us communicate with emojis, you know, on the little cell phones we have. So it's just, dude.
This is going to tie right into
it's hell in a handbasket. Sit back and enjoy the fucking ride, folks, because world power is ending for the United States. I mean, I don't want to get off the camp.
We got to keep rolling because we got other topics to get to. We're almost up against it, so we got to be conscious of our time. Turner, you want to bring the next one in, or?
Yeah, I can do that. So the next one. It's an interesting one. We want to talk about the Oxford school shooting and the parents being charged. What are your
what aspects of that would you like to talk about? The parents being charged, the fact that there was another school shooting, how that's going to.
All right, how about let me do this. Let me do this first. Let me give you my opinion first.
Okay.
And I want you to give me your opinion based off
what you say.
What I say, and then we'll jump into it that way.
Okay.
So the what I know is, and I'm going to be very vague. I'm going to be open. Again, you can go out, you can research your own stuff. We're not here to provide that.
We're up against it.
Yeah, all right, relax. Anyways, so
sorry, Matt. He's not following the protocol.
The parents.
I can. Oh, go ahead, Turner. I can give you more. I know a decent amount about it. If you need facts on it.
Yeah, no. So what I know is the parents at the end of the day knew.
Yep.
There was information that they knew that their child was going to do said activity. Okay. They knew that they weren't getting through to the kid, that the kid was going to do it.
Yeah.
And they left town, I believe.
Yeah.
Right there is where I have a very, very big issue, and I have an issue for the entire, like, just parenthood in general. And I'm not sitting here saying that I'm a parent, but what I'm sitting here is saying that there's an obligation that you have. If your kid is already gone in that point and you cannot save him, and he is going to commit an act of violence and of terror, whatever you want to call it, you have an obligation as a parent, a person that has brought another person and cared for another person into this world, for the other parent's children that he was going to go and ultimately affect.
Yeah.
And what they did by turning the blind eye and turning around and pretending that nothing is happening, I'm telling you right now, they should be hung in the middle of the city, because they had an obligation to those kids and those other kids' parents, because their kid was already gone. You can't save him. You have an obligation to save the other kids.
And interesting.
And I understand that I would understand as parents may think that their kid, if they came to them with any type of problem, they would want to help them. And that's where I kind of want to get your opinion, because I think that's probably where we were going to differ, because I know you and your relationship with your boy.
Tyler's going to love this one because he's not wrong from a logical standpoint, is he, Tyler? I mean, he nailed that. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of interesting things about that, Turner, because the truth of the matter is that I think as a parent, it would start earlier than that, right? Like, I mean, they bought him a gun. This gun was a gift, is part of the facts. Matt, you can probably confirm that this was a gift.
Yes, it was a Christmas gift.
That bought for him, right? So, if this is an early Christmas gift or something, or a Christmas gift from last year, and the kid, you know, is in high school, you should probably have a pretty good idea of who your kid is. Okay,
you would hope. You would hope.
You would hope, and so you should have, if you're the parent, you should have a pretty good understanding of who this child is, and then make a decision as to whether or not this child really should have access to a firearm, right? Yes. So I'd like to think that in my case, it never would have gotten to the point like, okay, this, something's a little off. Now, Andrew mentions my relationship with my son. What's interesting there is that I've always been big on gun awareness, gun safety. So from a small age, it wasn't, oh, we'll lock all the guns away and no, you can't see them, right? Because don't touch. Tell a kid don't touch something, see what happens.
They're going to touch it.
So you explain to them, this is a gun. This is a very powerful weapon. This can kill people. This is how you handle one safely. If you're at a friend's house and they want to show you their dad's gun, you tell them no, and you leave the room and get their father. If you can't do that, you get a hold of the gun, and this is how you make a gun safe, right? This is how you open it, take out the magazine. This is a safe gun. I don't know if all that made him frightful of the power of a weapon, So here's a kid who's 13. He's got access to guns. Jake, you want to go shooting? No, thank you.
No, he was shooting it with the parents.
No, thank you. Right. So I guess my whole point is, so my son doesn't necessarily want anything to do with firearms. Maybe I scared him from an early age in kind of going over how important it is to be safe with these things, how dangerous they are. Right. But in my mind, I wanted to make him safe, because the last thing I wanted to have happen was he's at a friend's house and you hear those stories all the time. So, and I, my wife was a little overzealous there, buddy, but that's kind of our relationship.
So do you think these parents, what do you think these parents should have done with that information?
In this case, it's just like, I don't think they should have ever given him that gun. Now, what's interesting, again, I said logically, Tyler, he's right. Man, this is a tough one for me, because I hate to say it, but it's just like, it's not that anybody else is less important than my son, but like, Dad, hey, look, I've got these bodies. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to bury him, and you're going to get out of here. And I'm sorry, but that's my emotional side. I would help him. I would help him get out. That would be my initial, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. And that's what,
raw honest about it. And let me tell you something. In saying that, it's wrong to say. Like, I can say to you, like, your logic, your statement of there was a responsibility is, I believe, the right thing to do. Right. Would I have the strength to do it? I don't know that I would.
Okay. And I respect that. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, there's a lot of missing pieces to this. So first of all, they did buy this young man that gun for Christmas, right? He had shot the guns. He's very comfortable with it. He had posted on social media that he had it. He was caught looking for ammunition inside the classroom.
See, there's so many red
He was
flags.
allergic.
Oh no! Listen,
No.
that whole point of it, Matt. Your point of like what the hell happened with this counselor who like met with him hours before and then was like, yeah, go back to class, you're fine.
No.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, it's when his mom discovered that the gun wasn't there, she texted him and said, "Don't do it." But when the school shooting happened, when this school shooting occurred, neither one of those fucking parents went up to that school. So if you had a kid, you know what I'm saying? So that tells you a couple different things, right? Number one, they probably knew that it was their kid that did it.
Yeah.
And number two, that there's obviously, if your kid's in a school that there's been a school shooting, you drop whatever the fuck you're doing, right? And you
Get
right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
there's
Yeah.
there is multiple things in this story. I think that a lot of people are culpable, but I think it's
So do the parents should be charged, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. But I think there's issues on every one of the obviously issues with the kids. Parents got something fucking wrong with them. You know, I mean,
But what about all these red flags? Like, so Matt, you can contest, and Dave, I know even you've been through classes, and everyone's always talking about like, dude, if I came up to you right now and I was like, I came to your house and I gave you all my things, or you know, we always talk about warning signs, right?
There was 100 red flags.
That's what I'm saying. So when you take all those red flags, you've got to go back and hold everybody accountable in terms of at least being like, what the.
Well, that's why I'm saying that.
When do you draw the line to that? When are you being too micromanaged?
What do you mean? Like,
I'm saying, like, where do you draw the line in terms of going back and laying
I think
the red flags? Yeah,
I think it starts and ends with the parents. I think that's
okay. Agreed.
I mean, if there's definitive evidence that the school had, then yeah, maybe you look at that. But ultimately, it starts and ends with the parents.
I can understand how you want to place some culpability with the parents, and I'm not going to disagree. But at the end of the day, it's, you know, if you're going to charge somebody with the death of somebody else, who pulled the trigger?
Well, he's getting charged too.
Right. No, yeah, I'm saying.
Oh, he didn't kill himself.
And I know you want to have like, again, we're talking about, and somebody said it. There's a lack of personal accountability, like just.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like, I guess at the end of the day, you got to make that decision, and then, you know, whatever you decide, you got to go with.
But Dave, he was a minor. He had access to a handgun. There's a lot of laws that were broken there. The parents should and are being held accountable for that. It wasn't that he was an adult and he had access to his gun that he purchased.
I understand, but again, here's a recurring theme: softening of society. Yeah. I mean, there's a time in society where, like, every male in the United States, at least, you know, and most females understood how to handle a gun properly, and we didn't have the level of gun violence that you see today, right?
It also wasn't glamorized.
It wasn't video games. It wasn't a sure way to get your name in the media, and you know.
No, that's a whole nother. That's that's a whole nother topic. There's a lot that goes. I mean, there's a lot that remains to be seen in the story, as far as what was going on at home behind closed doors, what's going on with the parents, what's going on with the kid. I mean, obviously things come out. When stuff like this happens, usually like with the Columbine shooting and stuff like this, it's the student or the shooter had to go out of his way or make a path for himself to acquire the weapon. Yeah. So this is something totally different. And like Melissa says, the parents took off. They found them hiding in an abandoned warehouse in Detroit. Right. So yeah. I mean,
Right. They're feeling a level of guilt for what happened, and rather than
well, I mean,
or stepping up to the plate themselves, having some accountability, they ran. I get it.
yeah. So we'll leave that one at
I
that.
think we should this one we bring back up. Let's follow the story. Let's follow. Yes, there's going to be more to it. Let's follow the story as a community. I love the interactions. Thank you everybody for weighing in. Melissa, Andrew, Weiss, how the hell are you? I love you so much. Can't wait to see you. But yeah, let's get into the next one, Matt. You wanna introduce this one?
Yeah. So our next topic, and this is something that is going to be personal for me and you, and for a lot of our audience. We're going to talk about the withdrawal or exit from Afghanistan. That happened. What was it? September.
Yeah, it was fall, right?
August 31st.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so
beginning of fall.
Shit show. What do you want to know about it? Absolute.
As a civilian, as a taxpayer that has supported, you helped support our paycheck. What is your opinion as a civilian watching this whole thing unfold?
Listen,
that's interesting. I want
support the United States military. Okay, all of you who make a sacrifice. I got to question leadership, right? There's a giant misallocation of military resources that happen repeatedly, and again, I guess it's because they got this open checkbook. They can just squeeze us for more money and we'll do it. But it's just, why were we in Afghanistan in the first damn place? Right? This is a war that drug on for 20 years that put a lot of people in harm's way. Oh, by the way, while you're there, you have rules of engagement. So we're gonna take you halfway around the world. We're gonna drop you in the shit, and then you've got rules of engagement so don't necessarily go shooting the enemy, right? Because you might be in trouble, right? That might be excessive force.
What
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So the whole idea of the way we just said, hey, listen, we're washing our hands of this. America's been here long enough, 20 years. We haven't really changed things, right? Taliban knew it, right? Time was on their side. I mean, you're in an area of the world that's called the empire or the graveyard of empires, right? Alexander the Great himself recognized the fact that he wasn't going to conquer Afghanistan.
Yeah.
But hey, military leadership now knows better than he did, and it's all about we're going to go and we're going to do this, but why? Okay, why put our guys in harm's way for as long as you did, just to say we're done?
Yeah, that's
and the truth of the matter is like, if you were doing it to bring freedom, here's the other thing I got as an issue as a taxpayer is how we engage in war. Again, we take our young men and women, we put them in harm's way. Mm-hmm. We give them rules of engagement to follow while they're in harm's way, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's no spoils of war anymore. Throughout history, the reason that you fight war is to gain the spoils, be it land, silver, gold, the women, whatever it is, right? Yeah. There's spoils through the war. There's a reason that you put your men in harm's way and that you yourself go out and fight. And at the end of it, you get some spoils. So why are we paying for gas at all? And Daniel McDonough, Hearts and Minds, you're right, brother. This comes out of Vietnam, right? And how'd that work out, right? And talk about a group of veterans that were totally disenfranchised, treated very, very poorly. I had an uncle. He's no longer with us, Vietnam veteran. The Hearts and Minds thing is bullshit, right? Again, that's an issue with military leadership. You can't. War is war. It's ugly. Okay, it's not going out and handing out stuffed animals and making friends while you are occupying a nation.
So it was just poorly represented, right? That's my one of my biggest issues with it, and is the fact is that we are so meticulous with our training. We spend millions of dollars. We have the best equipment, the best gear. We are the fucking powerhouse of the world. And we train and we teach our military members, men, women, and everything in between. This is how you do it. cover and alignment, gear accountability. And then all of a sudden you're going to go and show the entire world how unorganized we are. And we're just going to leave billions of dollars. I don't care if I'm wrong by that. It's just what it seems like, Matt. So is that how you feel, Matt? Like,
no, that was my big, I mean, finish what you're saying. I'll get to my point.
No, go for it. I want you to jump into it.
Yeah. So that kind of tying into what Dave said is why are we there, right? That's a big thing. Why are we there? So no, in my mind, no exit. You're gonna have to exit. You're not winning anything, right? So
right.
It's like no matter when you leave, it's just we're leaving. But my issue was with the equipment. In leaving all what we've learned, especially in Afghanistan through time, with them fighting the Russians, us leaving equipment there, buying equipment, teaching them how to fight. The thought process that goes behind that to say that like this is something that we should do. We should leave Humvees here, MRAPs, weapons.
You could have second award privates making better decisions within the leadership that we saw and what the entire world saw as the United States flew that last plane out of there. It was. I don't get into this stuff. You know me, guys. I don't like that. It was so big. I work for a very like small family business, and dude, they called me that morning and was like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, dude, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no clue. And they're like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden, I talked to you. I started talking to people, and I'm like, I had time to think about it, man. And I was like, you know what? Like, with all the other shit aside, we shouldn't be there. All that bullshit aside, dude, there was a horrible representation of our country. There was a horrible representation of who we are as servicemen and women. And it looked absolutely garbage on us as a whole. And that's what I think of it.
I think that's a solid way of putting it. The poor planning and the Russian practice.
If you and I would have done that, Matt, going out on missions that you and I've been, if we didn't plan, you know what I'm saying? It's just like.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
it doesn't compute.
Again, if it comes back to you're trying to make for the Taliban says we have till now to withdraw. We don't want to step on the Taliban. So okay, well then why did you go?
Well, they didn't give a shit about that. All that garbage is. Right. They don't give a shit what the Taliban's
we have to follow the rules,
right?
And to what you guys were talking about earlier with this rules of engagement, I'm going to tell you what, it was one of the most scariest things being over there. And I'm a very emotional person. I wear it on my sleeve. Everyone that knows me, right? Like, I remember being out there, being like, "Yo, I am more scared of the fact that someone's going to come over here and hand me a 15-pound book."
Yeah. Of
the UCMJ and slam it down and be like
100%.
And I'm like, yo, that is wild that I put my instincts, my gut, my life
100%
on the line because of a worry of fucking paperwork.
Yeah.
And anybody that really knows me, and I just said that word paperwork, knows exactly how that all makes a full circle in my career.
Yeah.
And it's unreal.
It's an absolutely ludicrous thing to have to put in. I was older, obviously, when we were there, but somebody who's somebody who is a young kid, 18 years old, who's going to a war zone, and all the things they have to think about, saying they just left their family, they just left their girlfriend, or even if they're married, they're there with their buddies they love. Then on top of that, you give them this fucking narrow guideline of how they need to defend themselves. And basically, if you break that, we're going to put you in Leavenworth.
Yeah.
It's just.
I think any leadership.
A giant misallocation of military resources.
Yeah.
It's just,
I think
it baffles the mind, especially when we got bigger fish to fry. I mentioned, ATOLs in the South China Sea earlier.
Yep.
Anybody who's not scared to death of Putin just isn't paying attention. Those are real issues that, our military may have to face in the near future. And if we're going to approach either of those engagements with a winning of the hearts and minds. Boys,
Not gonna work.
I get it. It started. It was very sorry for your loss. I saw that comment, and
Go ahead, Matt.
I mean, that's the thing. That's the emotional toll of it too. I mean, there was no reason for it. It was so anyway.
The hearts and minds thing, Dave. The hearts and minds thing. Really, Vietnam was when they started the cameras, right, and videotaping this stuff. So this just always goes back to civilians or America. They want you to do a job, right? Not necessarily they wanted us to go to Vietnam or Afghanistan, but you gotta protect our country and do this, but at the same time setting guidelines. We don't want to experience the toll of what war is, right? Like we don't want to see,
of course, and nobody wants it.
Nobody wants it.
Right.
You know, I mean, the truth is, historical reference here. Anybody who's a Civil War has any knowledge of the Civil War, you know, I mean, it was basically Lincoln. They wanted it. They wanted it to end, so they turned Sherman loose on the South. And you know, for I don't know if you still can, but like back in the 1980s, you could still see from space the path that Sherman had burnt through the South doing his 1864.
Yeah, I remember you told me that.
And the reality situation is because Sherman said, "Listen, you want the war to end? Then I need to show them war. War is not hey, listen, you know, you guys need to stop fighting. We're all going to get along, right? Like, no." It is savage. It is. If you want them to fold, then we have to make them fold. I think it started at the end of World War II. It was like, oh well, listen, we've defeated Japan, and I think there was a sense of guilt because let's face it. I mean, we dropped atomic weaponry. You know, and
no, you're right. You're right.
Like, hey, you know what? Wow, holy shit! We didn't necessarily realize how powerful the weapon we had it was, but since we dropped it and everybody saw it. There's a sense of guilt, and rather than hiding like the parents did for the Oxford shooting, America said, "Well, let's go ahead and rebuild Japan." And then this became this idea of, "Oh, well, hey, listen, we can make the world America through showing them, you know, what a great life we have, and hey, they want this, and we'll go ahead and we'll move into your space and help you build this."
Yeah.
Except that doesn't work in a place like Afghanistan, where things have been the same way for millennia, right? The same sheep
biblical days.
Had your same centralized tribal powers, and that's the way it works. And if you think that they're interested in America bringing in their brand of how to live, where their women start going to get their hair and nails did, like, I'm sorry, brother, but like, no, it doesn't
you're out
work.
of your mind. Yeah.
Like, it's cool here in America to have a strong woman and you can have a conversation. They're not interested over there.
Not at all.
They certainly don't want to allow that sort of culture in, and guess what?
So
they'll fight to the death for it, as we all know.
So with that being said, Matt, do you have any on the last topic? Do you have any closing?
No
worries, brother.
No, we only got one more. I think
we're here all night. If we have one person watching, we're here all night.
Yeah.
I think it's generalization, Matt. Right? Like I think you and I, the organization of how it all went down, right?
Yeah. And I
all agreed on the table.
I think we all knew, those of us who served and went to Afghanistan, like we said a million times before, it's not about the why we were there.
It was for the people.
Yes. Like I was there because my brothers were there, and I was fighting because I wanted to get home and I wanted to protect my brothers. I didn't give a flying fuck about the who and the why.
Yep. Amen.
So we knew the day was going to come when we left. And would that diminish the meaning of why we were there? No, because we did our mission. We did our mission. We did our job. We got each other home. So
why leave with nothing?
That's right.
And why leave the way?
No, that part's
horrible. So this will kind of go into our last topic. I want to bring this in before we go into opening the floor for closing remarks and questions, comments, bitches, moans, gripes, whatever you've got. Because this has been a great episode.
Yes.
One of a kind for sure. Now with all this stuff, and we were just talking about how Western influence and they don't want it and all this. What I want to know, Matt, your opinion, especially Dave, your opinion, because I've always kind of looked at you as kind of someone that gives me like something that you spark my mind to really start thinking about things. And I'm not just saying that because we're on this, like real talk, like cheers. Like that's part of the reason, like, because again, I'm not the, I take what other people will say and I create my own path and I look my own shit up. A lot of things that we've always had a great conversation, but the inflation that we're experiencing now, our economy, gas, and
labor shortages,
cars, everything. What's this big bubble? Is it a big bubble we're in? Every industry in a bubble. What are your opinions on that?
It's a gigantic bubble.
Go ahead, Dave. Oh, okay. I was going to say, let me put my micro and macroeconomic hat on. Remember my time spent in college earning my degree. Don't
give them the accents yet.
Yeah, no. The reality of the situation is that it is a bubble, I think, especially in the housing market. Again, there's some similar practices that, we saw back in the early 2000s that are taking place. Yeah. And they're building another house of cards. And here's the truth. It's okay. And the reason that it's okay is because, again, there's a lack of leadership. And it's like having a responsible adult in the room versus the crazy uncle, right? When you have a responsible adult in the room, they set limitations and they say no. But since we've got crazy uncles running the world, Tyler says, come on, I'm waiting for the accents. And for what you wish for, my son. Anyway, whole point is that when the crazy uncle's in the room, it's like, oh, well, fuck it. Pop the bubble, we'll print more money. We'll just drive up the deficit. It's no big deal. Kick the can down the road. And at some point, the chicken's got to come home to roost. And so it's going to be tough for a society who likes to fight wars through winning hearts and minds when those chickens come home to roost and China says, hey, listen, you owe us a lot of money. And if you don't pay up, we're going to fight about it.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. What do you mean we're going to fight about it? Can't we just print you some more money? Can't we get along? Like, no, because we got totally different cultures. Anyway, so we were talking about economy. Yeah. So the gas is an issue for me because, again, as America, number one, show you my left-leaning side. I don't think we should be dependent on fossil fuels anymore. We've got the technology. We've got the know-how. But here's what we don't have. We don't have the lobbyists in Washington taking the freaking dumbass decision makers out to lunch and dinners to drive home the fact that we just need clean energy sources, okay? Because we have access to them and they work and we should be utilizing them. But if we're going to continue to burn fossil fuels just because we can, fuck it. I mean, cool. Why don't we own all the oil fields? All of them. Okay. And why do I pay? Right? Why do I pay?
Well, because we're not experiencing the spoils of war. Like you said to your point, we aren't the top.
We don't get the spoils. We just fight the war. We pay the money. We go
Someone's getting it.
Toll. We ruin our young men and women's lives, but there's no effing payoff. Okay, so the gas thing's a hot point for me, and I'm sorry, I'll get off my tangent. We should
gas. It's
so with the economy as an overall whole. I mean, let's face it. There's been a lot of change, right? I mean, COVID changed things, right? People had to figure out how to work, how to keep the economy moving. Yep. You see shortages in shipping and transportation. Unfortunately, you see a general lack, I think, of Americans wanting to fill some of those necessary jobs because they're not necessarily as glamorous as somebody was hoping that their life would be. And I got newsflash, everybody, not everybody's going to Hollywood. You're not going to be the movie star, and unfortunately, most likely you're not going to own that 160-foot yacht. If you do, don't forget your boy Dave. I like a good time. Make me out. Right?
His number and everything will be in the description below the episode.
But,
so
yeah. So
is it going to? What do you think is going to pop?
I think from the housing standpoint, like I'm unfortunately I do. Like I thought about I got a little extra cash right now, and it's just like, well, I want to invest it because Jake is going to be in college in no time.
Right.
So, do you look at flipping? Because I got a contracting background. That's something I can do. I can flip a house, right? No problem. But I don't know, man. Right now, I'm a little, you know, your whatever you're paying for in the market space is way above what you should be paying. So finding that deal to begin with is a challenge to flip. And I just don't know how much longer that market's going to be there before a little pop happens.
I'm looking forward.
Now, at the same time, real estate's always a good investment. You know, anybody who's thinking about buying, if you can afford it.
I was gonna say right now,
It's always been about land, right? Like who owns land? That's wealth.
Yeah, I mean, people are paying like $50,000-$60,000 above asking price. So my thing is, I'm not in economics. I don't. But listen, my simple ass mind is, if I buy a house from you, Dave, and you come and you're like, you know what? Look at the market. I come to you and I'm saying, Dave, listen, I take it off the market. 200 people are looking at it. Here's $60,000 more, and there's people who are willing to pay that exact 60 grand. But I come to you first, and I've got cash.
Right.
I'm out 260.
Yeah.
When I go back to sell and try to recoup my investment, and that market levels out, you're not getting that 260. I'm thinking in my head, you're not getting that 260 back.
So if you're looking for the quick flip, right? If the bubble pops and you're on the wrong side,
you have to be
you're screwed.
10 years plus.
Right now, what you have to consider is the fact that interest rates are as low as they are, right? So that's what allows people to pay these inflated home prices. Is the fact that you get 2 to 3% interest rates on a 30-year fixed loan, which is a mechanism of the Federal Reserve.
But the bank's not going to give you 60 grand above asking, are they?
No, they're not. Listen to what I'm saying. The Federal Reserve controls that, and it's been irresponsible, right? Because it's been this slow roll. If you think about it, there's never been a true full recovery. Yeah, things took off when Trump came in.
No, there's definitely not even been anything close to a recovery.
Right. And so the feds need to do a better job of regulating the interest rate to keep the inflation from doing what it's doing. They have. They recognize that now. So part of the reason that the bubble could pop is like the feds I think there are 3 to 4 rate increases that they're saying are coming through for 2022. Right. Hey, listen, you're not going to pay that 2 to 3% on a 30-year fix anymore. So do you pay the 2% on an $850,000 home, or do you wait for that $850,000 home to come down to $650,000? But now you're paying 3.5%, 4%, 5%. Right? So it's like, you know, you got to, if you're going to be in the real estate market right now, I think whatever decision you make, you got to be in for the long haul.
Yo, Static X73.
Static X talking about crypto.
That's Cruise, right?
Let me tell you something, kid. Crypto is crazy. I kick myself in the ass all the time for not buying Bitcoin when it was 50 cents a coin. But at the same time, part of the reason I never got into the crypto is because I just see it as a way of somebody forcing me into a new currency situation.
Well, I think that's going to happen regardless. Look at the credit card. Look at the cell phone.
My problem with it is that there's not enough gold in the Federal Reserve. There's not enough gold in Fort Knox to back the money that's printed. And at the end of the day, that's a fucking problem. Okay? And yes, I'm old school, and yes, I'm a Neanderthal in a lot of ways, but give me that piece of gold and let me make sure it's gold. Okay, we're good. Now you've paid your fare. Not some fucking, oh, well, I emailed you this currency.
It's a little bit more. There's a little bit more to it, but
I'm sure there is.
I understand.
At the end of the day, can I bite it? Can I make sure it's gold? Is it back? Like, is it?
No.
Okay, thanks.
No.
Well, we can finish that part of the conversation.
Matt, go ahead.
No, I think it's an absolute bubble, and it's gonna pop. And like Dave said, but we've seen this before. So that's not the troublesome thing. The troublesome thing to me is, like Dave said, there's no recovery, right? We're handing out free money. There's no recovery for businesses. We have labor shortages up the ass. People don't want to work.
It's the best market since we've been. Hold on. Well, this is the best market that I can say as a millennial at 35, whatever, however old I am. This is the best job market I've ever witnessed in terms of that. I've been active, like I've been an employee, right? Like I've been in my professional life.
Yeah, you can go to Target for $15 an hour. Right?
You go and they're giving people are giving signing bonuses.
Yes.
Unreal.
So I'll tie
it up.
I'll tie it up with a bow here. We appreciate everybody chiming in. If you have a question,
absolutely,
question or a comment, get it in, and we will answer it.
Yeah, remember everybody, this is, as we say every week, this is this network and that what we're building is for everybody. It's for you.
Yep.
Shout out Perez. How you doing? Everyone should go check out Engine Tube on YouTube. If you're into cars and you're into doing things to cars, and I believe they're specific to Jettas or VWs. Yeah, dude, it's pretty cool. They're out in California. Perez is a great dude. Marine, was one of our young Marines. But yes, please, anybody get on here. What are your opinions? Do you have any questions about the 5 topics? I'm going to go down the list real quick again. The first topic we talked about was the never-ending pandemic. What are your thoughts? What about the vaccination battles between active duty military and just in general with job situation? We also touched on the Oxford school shooting and the parents being charged. We want to know what are your thoughts? Do you think the parents should be charged? Do you think the kids should just be more held accountable? Or who do you think should be held accountable in that stream of mishaps? We also went from there. We jumped right into the Afghanistan exit. It's kind of a big one. Unique perspectives from veterans, from civilians, and everybody in between. So you got an opinion on it? Get in the comments and let us know. And then lastly, we just touched on something that I'm completely foreign against is world economics, kind of, and what we're doing here in America, and the inflation, gas, real estate, and what's going on with cars. So bringing in, looks like Rebecca 22. Matt, what's your opinion on masks for children in schools and going to virtual again? Good question.
Yeah. So Rebecca, we are going through this with my youngest, and it's tough, man. Like I would have a hard time asking my daughter to wear a mask all day if she felt uncomfortable. At the same time, I understand the purpose behind it. It's a consideration thing, and you don't want to spread COVID. It's just that the kids have it so hard right now, not just little kids, but all the way up into high school. These changes in schools, changes in policies, changes in the different things they have to wearing a mask all day. You try to get a freaking 5-year-old to wear a mask all day. It's not going to happen.
Right next door to where I work, they have a daycare, and these kids are outside playing, and they got masks, and they're cutting teachers. I'm like,
I do think the one thing that we've learned from virtual learning, Rebecca, is that parents have seen that their kids don't need to go to necessarily to a public school and have 2 hours of homework and have all this. They can learn just as much on virtual learning and still enjoy themselves as a child. I think it's beneficial. That's been beneficial to people because, in a public school setting, you get younger kids, you get 2 hours of homework, they're testing, they come home, they're dog ass tired. The virtual learning gives them a little bit more freedom. Luckily, I have a good student for a daughter, so she's able to learn fast.
Shout out Mallory.
Yeah, shout out to Mallory. She's perfection in a person.
She definitely didn't get that from you, Devil Dog.
No, I have no idea.
Dude, that's awesome. We share the same fate there. I have a perfect child.
Yeah.
Not like me at all. No.
Yeah. Thank God, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh yeah. I'm like, you're so not like me. Let me
No, she's awesome. Absolutely fantastic. But
Also, Rebecca asked earlier about what my T-shirt says. It says Detroit-ish.
You know what? I knew you were Detroit-ish when I met you, and you weren't really that hard, and you weren't from the D, son.
The shit out.
Fuck, dude. Listen to me. I am betting on the metaverse right now that one day I'm going to be able to sit right here and reach through this screen and smack the shit out of you.
So what Detroit-ish means is like when people ask you where you're from, they don't really know. Like, I live in Auburn Hills. They don't know the suburbs. But I'm only like
studying math.
Listen. Can I finish talking? Or you?
Yeah. Hey, go ahead, pal. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just teasing. But I'm only 15, 20 minutes away from Detroit. So the saying Detroit-ish. It's like Detroit-ish. You know, it's just
I'm
I thought you
Baltimore-ish.
Michigan folks did the hand thing. Like, what is
well,
that?
we're in the area I'm in. We are close to. I mean, we're not far from Ohio. We're not far from Windsor. So
Okay, gotcha.
yeah. So
You're a
I mean,
smorgasbord.
yeah. So that's what Detroit-ish means.
Gotcha.
Yeah, close to Detroit. Definitely don't live in Detroit. But I mean, shout out Detroit. It's not I don't have anything against it. I don't want to start that, but yeah, that's what it means. But
Yeah, thanks for the Mom. Thanks for the interaction. Appreciate it. Good question, Matt. Do we have any other questions out there coming in?
we have a lot of comments saying Matt's the best.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank God Matt opened tonight. We got to see an attractive man on here first before Turner came on. There's some things like that. I don't know. I'm gonna skim through the comments like that, but
I get the idea.
Don't read any of the ones that make you blush, dude.
yeah, right. Yeah, what are you doing after the podcast? Can we stay on live video together?
Oh my God! Listen, if we're gonna start monetizing you.
No,
But no, listen, everybody. Episode 7. Dave, first and foremost, thanks for coming over.
Yeah,
Thank
hope I
you.
didn't screw up your
No, this is
no, Dave, it was
fan
great.
of the show. So hopefully everybody tunes in for some future episodes. I know I will be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and we've said this right from the beginning, everybody. We want this to be raw, open, and non-judgmental for anybody to be a part of. I pride myself on being down the middle of the road a lot of the time because I like to enjoy to see both sides, and I like having conversation with you because we can go as far one way or the other, and we always reel back in. And same with you, Matt. So I thought this was a great idea when it got brought to the table and us doing this like this, and I can't wait to do it again.
Yes.
And as far as the listeners, we've had a great audience tonight. I thank you very much
100%.
For tuning in. And I want to reach out to every one of you as you're sitting there and we're spending time together. I want to ask a favor. I know everyone sitting out there has at least one friend that could get on board with what our mission is here at Disarrange 1775, could use the network, could use the help and the support, or you know what, hell, could use the entertainment whenever we can get funny.
Yep.
I really am asking you personally as a friend to go out there, reach out, and have them subscribe to us. We're on all platforms. You can look us up, Disarrange 1775. We go live every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We want to grow our network because we truly feel this is going to help people. It's helped Matt and I. It's even helped Dave just talking to him on the side and how excited he was that we've actually kicked this off because shit, I've been talking about doing this.
I got to see you. This came like your brainchild from being out on the trail.
Yeah, man.
Like you started talking about this, and now it's
here.
happening. Yeah.
So I want you to please, if you're into what we're doing and you think that there's a value, please be a friend to somebody else and reach out and get them to subscribe to YouTube, get them to subscribe to our resources. And we're going to have a bunch of content, and we're going to have, as we grow this year, we have so much exciting things coming down the pipeline. Everyone's going to be surprised. So again, Dave, thank you very much, my friend. Pound it, shake it. Matt, unbelievable time tonight, brother. I appreciate you.
Fantastic.
And everybody, again, thank you. We'll see you next week for episode 8, Disarrange 1775. Take care, everybody.